Hi, and welcome to the NBA Economy Show. This is Fritz. Just coming to you this Sunday. It's definitely been a bit busy Sunday, but I just wanted to get you guys updated on the latest Knicks news. Certainly, we had some Tyler Kolek news, which may influence how we think about certain players on the Knicks. A lot of people have been talking about Kolek, Deuce McBride. Also, we have Julius Randle's extension on the horizon. We'll go into that for a moment, and then also we will talk about a Julius Randle proposal that has been pretty popular um, online, and a lot of thoughts on it from the fans. And then we're just gonna kind of look at it from like a realistic team perspective. So the first part is about Tyler Kolek, um, and it really came from Ian Begley, a very trusted source. And today he issued a correction, and then we're just going to go into why he issued the correction. Um, he he originally said campaign, who we recently signed, would get significant minutes next season, and he thought him being the veteran, he will get more minutes than Tyler Kolek, and that Tyler Kolek was basically the third string. And he issued a correction saying his his initial reaction was wrong, and the reason it was wrong was because the Knicks, besides Payne, were going after Tyus Jones. So Tyus Jones, very accomplished. Last year, it was actually a starter for the Wizards, and basically, if Tyus Jones came to the Knicks, basically that whole backup situation would have been his. Um, the Knicks signing Payne, he just looked at it and said, okay, Payne's taking that slot. Payne is the automatic backup, with Tyler Kolek being the third. Um, and that wasn't the case. He says that Tyler Kolek is actually now the backup for Jalen Brunson. So it looks like Tyler Kolek is in the rotation. The Knicks were very impressed with his summer league output. Yeah, he pretty much put on a show. Assist to turnover ratio is very good for a rookie. So the Knicks looks like they're going to go ahead with him as the backup. Um, what does that mean for Payne? Looks like Payne is more insurance. Um, and Payne is a cheap contract that toward the middle of the season the Knicks can trade. It's a 1 year contract. So look for the Knicks to maybe mid-season uh, start shopping with Payne. So what does that mean for Deuce McBride? Okay, last week we learned from Bagley that Deuce McBride wasn't seen as a point guard. So Kolek and Deuce McBride aren't directly competing with each other, but Deuce McBride is definitely the third at best shooting guard if you put him in that spot. So um, it really shows that Deuce McBride is kind of trade bait at this point. And it's not that Deuce McBride isn't better than Tyler Kolek. Um, it's just that how it was set up. Um, Last year, if we kind of look at where Deuce McBride was when he got his extension, he got his extension on December 30th. And his December 30th, it wasn't the only news of the day. We knew that the Knicks, it's the same day they got OG Anunoby, and they traded RJ Barrett, and they traded Emmanuel Quickly. So he got that extension that same day. And when you give an extension, you can't trade him for 30. I'm sorry, for 6 months. So December 30th, 6 months, June 30th. So what the Knicks were pretty much doing at that time was giving Deuce a contract, a 3 year, $13 million contract, um, and he hadn't popped yet. So this is at the time they were rewarding Deuce McBride with a contract for his hard work, and they knew that this summer they were going to take a couple big swings, and if they took a couple big swings, they're going to need salary. And even if they did something different, they would need contracts going forward. So basically, they they signed up Deuce to trade him, and once they did that, Deuce started to play better, and Deuce really solidified himself on the rotation. Okay, I'm just gonna read a little comment. Ivory 10, it says Ian Begley's article didn't make sense because in the end says I don't know if Tyler Kolek is in Tibbs' rotation. Well, yeah. So basically, he knows that Tyler Kolek is second at point guard. You also know that Dante plays little point guard at as well. We saw an emergency situation, and even that game 7, Dante played point guard. Um, and there's not a lot of minutes to go around, so you don't know if the Knicks are going to um, really play with that lineup to get people minutes. Because basically, right now you have Mikal Bridges and you have Dante splitting that spot, and is are either one of them getting good enough minutes? Can both of them get 30 minutes? Where's that time going to come from? So, but right now Kolek is behind Brunson. Yeah, I think it's really going to be a tightrope. I think it's a real reason to be concerned for Deuce going forward on this team. I personally think Deuce will be traded eventually. It's not just in stone that he'll be gone this summer, but at some point you can expect him to be traded. When they signed that contract in December 30th, it was to get him traded. His contract for this year is 4.7 million, and it descends. So a lot. So when they set this contract up, it was at the time Deuce wasn't a very productive player, but he was a good defender. It was something that maybe was a neutral contract, so just a contract they can use in a further trade. But now Deuce has become valuable, and a lot of these players the Knicks are looking at, he's going to be the first person they're going to want. Um, Basically, of our tradable assets, it's him and Mitch. And if you look at their salaries, we'll just look at it real quick. If you look at this, we used this slide earlier, but for the people you really are going to trade, you go from Mitchell Robinson's 14.3. The next one down of players that you realistically would trade is McBride at 4.7, and then you have a lot of minimum contracts. So he's really set up to be the guy to go. Okay. All right. So yeah, he's a quality bench piece, but it does look like Deuce's days are numbered. If it's this summer or this fall, or at the least next summer, and if it goes into the year, it looks like he'll be a low usage player, situational, mostly. Let me just look at the comments. Okay, if you're the backup point guard, you're in the rotation. So I don't get that comment by Begley. Yeah, so Yeah. So a lot of things are in flux. I think he's just behind Brunson. But, just how we used Josh last year, where Josh was the backup small forward and he was the backup power forward in the beginning. I think Begley doesn't want to write something in pen when it's in pencil right now, and it's not all flushed out. And plus, you don't know till training camp. So if Kolek shows up in the training camp and he shows out, that can influence things. Or Kolek shows up and he shows that his defense isn't, um, you know, his defense is much improved over what we saw in summer league. That can change things. Also, okay. Also, another comment. Sincere Israel. What if the Knicks are hyping Tyler and sign him um, for to trade him instead of Deuce? Is that contractually possible? I heard we could trade Tyler after August 8th. It is true. They can trade Kolek after 30 days. Um, I don't think they would do it. Um, After Summer League, I don't think they would do it. I just think Deuce is the most logical person out. Even though you like Deuce, it's just where are you going to play him? And you saw him in the playoffs. He shot well, but when it came to his handling pressure as a point guard, he just wasn't a point guard, and he's just too valuable. If you want something of value, he's gonna be the first thing teams are gonna ask for. They're gonna ask for Deuce. They're not gonna ask for Kolek. Um, yeah, I'll continue to answer questions. I'm just gonna go into the next thing about Julius Randle's extension status and the update on Julius Randle saying that he's not focused on signing that extension now, and also that the Knicks aren't focused on him signing the extension. Um, he's extension eligible, as you see right here, 13 days. On the 13th, he's eligible. What does that mean? It really just means don't look for day one for him to sign that extension. Um, that really shows a little bit of structure. The Knicks, if they sign him day one, they would have a couple days once he passes his 6 months being signed that they could trade him at the trade deadline. So this is showing me the Knicks are going to be in a situation where they'll sign him to an extension and then trade him at the deadline. So if they sign him to, um, you know, an extension, he's going to be here the entire year. Um, that's what it tells me. Um, the other thing it tells me is that the Knicks could be looking to trade him, and 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 Julius Randle is going along with it. So it's not. It may be mutually they're looking for a trade. That's one of those things that could be happening. Um, Very few places that just because his situation, it'd be very tough for another team. Um, it's kind of like the OG Anunoby situation, where you're trading for somebody, but if he doesn't want to go along with your extension idea, he kind of backed you into a corner to get as much money as he wants. And one of the outside chances what the Knicks could be doing is signing him to a small extension. So not that extension that's available on the third, but extend. They said there's like a much smaller extension that he still remains trade eligible. So I think he would go up to like 33 million, and then you can still trade him. I think that's a possibility. And oh yeah, I think that's a real possibility. Let me see. Flourish tears. Fritz is trading everyone. No one is safe. No one is safe. But yeah, I think it's a real possibility that they're just not focusing on it. I know he wouldn't be like jumping at the opportunity to do it, um, but for the Knicks not to focus on it and him not to focus on it at the same time, that is interesting. We could be talking trade, or he could be waiting on Mikal Bridges, see what Mikal Bridges does, and try to line all the money up to make sure it works. Let me see. All right. So outside of that Julius Randle information, we also had like a popular rumor that's been not. I wouldn't even call it a rumor. A trade proposal by a magazine. No, it's not a rumor. It's just their idea of what can happen. Um, and this heavy.com had a trade idea, and it was around Julius Randle. So it was Memphis Grizzlies receiving Julius Randle, the Knicks receiving Jaren Jackson Jr., 2026 first round pick, and the 2029 first round pick for Memphis. So Memphis was hit by injuries a lot last year. And let's just go into their thinking. Their thinking was Jackson Jr. is a former All-Star who's 24 years old and coming off a down year with the Grizzlies, with point guard Ja Morant out for most of the year. Memphis finished 27-55. Jackson averaged 22 and a half points, 5.5 rebounds, 22.3 assists, 1.6 blocks, and 1.2 steals in 66 regular season appearances. Okay. So the things that they don't say here is the Grizzlies have had Jackson and Morant for 6 years. So 6 years this tandem has been together, hasn't quite worked. You're in Ja Morant's prime, and then you really want to maximize his prime years, especially the way he plays. The same way as Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose was very athletic, and the wrong injury and that athleticism goes away. They really want to maximize it. This is smart, but I think a lot of times is the values are off. A lot of Knicks fans look at this and say, "Wow, why would the Knicks give up Randle for Jaren Jackson Jr.?" Well, the Knicks have looked at Jaren Jackson Jr. before. They even hired his father to coach in Westchester. The Knicks really did key on him at one point, but Jaren Jackson Jr. signed his extension with Memphis, and that pretty much killed everything. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a better defender than Julius Randle, and for the Knicks, that's important. However, realistically, if the Knicks did this trade, the Knicks would probably be giving picks to Memphis, even though Jaren Jackson Jr. is the lesser scorer, the lesser rebounder. Just because he's younger, and because of Julius Randle's extension situation. Julius Randle is up for a large extension. Jaren Jackson is not. Jaren Jackson has 2 more years for an extension, so you're paying kind of for financial flexibility. So it'll be more like Randall plus a pick or several picks, like first in a couple seconds for Jaren Jackson Jr. Let me just look at. Okay. Okay, we'll get back to that one. So, also, when you look at these numbers, it's not exactly what you're thinking. So I'm just gonna we're just gonna look at on ESPN. So these are Jaren Jackson's numbers. So they were accurate: 22 and a half points, 5.5 rebounds. So way less for rebounders. Also, field goals are low. But if you look at his numbers, his whole career he's been in the teens in scoring. Last year he was at 22.5 because he was forced to. He was playing with a bunch of G League players, so he had to take the league on. He had to take the lead in scoring, even though he had a lot of like G League players. 22.5 was the best he can do. Also, his rebounding actually went down. So, what the Knicks would be, what the Knicks actually would be paying for, is his defense. The Knicks would be not really buying rebounding, but defense and 3-point shooting, which has kind of been up and down with him. But as a Knicks content creator, would I do it? Probably yes. Just for the financial flexibility, it allows you to resign Mikal Bridges and not really worry about going into that second apron. And that's where I'll go to this question from Sincere Israel. If Bridges signs the same team-friendly deal Brunson's did, can we have a 5-star starting five? So 5-star starting five. It'll be a tough crunch. You can't have someone who's making $50 million now. Someone like Jaren Jackson Jr. Would make sense because it just gives you flexibility. I think the Knicks are really looking now to make sure all the numbers fit. That's why I think Mitchell Robinson may be on his way out, just to pay for all these extensions. I think that's why they're looking for a high price center. They're looking for a center with a like a 1-year deal that's really high that goes away this summer, next summer. Christopher Thompson, Triple J is a great fit. I think he's a good fit. I just, he doesn't give you everything Randall does, but he gives you the things that we need for the modern NBA. So he'll match up well with Porzingis, because we are chasing the Celtics. He gives you flexibility because he plays power forward and he plays center. I probably would start him at power forward, and emergency situations, you can play him at center. You could play him at center and then shift OG Anunoby to power forward, and then you shift Mikal to small forward, and then you have a nice, like, a crazy defensive lineup. So I think Triple J does really fit. I just don't think on this proposal that Memphis would be giving us anything, just because he has such a controlled contract, and also that he's younger. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So about Julius's extension. Yeah. So Julius is right on the third. He is eligible for a 4-year, $181.5 million extension, and that's 40.5 million the first year. Year four, he's making 50.2 million. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where Memphis really is at with that. If Memphis wants to take on that kind of financial responsibility, but if Randall was willing to take less and arranges it with them, I think they could be interested. Okay. It's impossible to replace every facet of Randall's game, but if he doesn't want to sign, yeah, I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't blame Randall for not signing. He's taken 2 pay cuts coming here, and this is his last big payday. And I really don't think it's uh, as fans, people are talking about he'd be overpaid at 40, 50 million. It's not an overpay. Everyone who has his qualifications or anywhere near it makes $50 million. I don't know if he turns down making 40, $50 million a year. The new TV deal should be giving the Knicks more financial flexibility. I think trading Randall, it's more about making sure we don't lose him or nothing, than he doesn't sign for us. Yes, the new TV deal does give us more flexibility going forward. The Knicks already kind of figured that in already. Um, so the Knicks kind of already figured that in. But if they allowed him, to skip this year with extension and then give him everything next year, they would be well over the second apron. Um, and it's just like the new CBA. It's just set up for not for everybody to get paid. And even though Jalen Brunson has sacrificed, it just isn't enough. The new CBA. I'm gonna make another video about Jalen Brunson's contract, but it kind of eases Jalen Brunson's pain of taking that little cut, because he's still gonna get paid really well. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had. Um, so we see that, just to review, Kolek is slotted behind Jalen Brunson. Um, Even though he's slotted as behind Jalen Brunson, Begley isn't saying that he's the de facto backup point guard, just because at shooting guard we're extremely deep, which could mean that some of those minutes for G. Vincenzo and Mikel could be taken at point guard. So he's not gonna commit to saying that he's the de facto backup point guard. Um, we still got a lot of moving parts, and until we get this roster set, they're not gonna really comment on that. Um, Deuce is one of our last. Deuce is one of our last trade pieces. So between Mitch, Deuce, and the rookies, those are the guys you're pretty much using to try to get a backup point guard. And for a backup point guard, why would I give up a talent like Deuce for a backup point guard? I think the Knicks are going to try to get someone really young, someone who can grow into a starting point guard. I'm not sold that Mitch is, even though Mitch is very talented, uh, I'm not sold that the Knicks want to necessarily go forward with Mitch. His salary could be put toward some of these extensions. That's all I have for now. Um, I'm going to try to be back on tomorrow and we talk a little bit more about Jalen Brunson's extension. And please please subscribe. I don't have a um, I don't have a monetary button, but if you want to give something to the channel, I'm definitely be appreciated to it. Uh, Please drop any comments you want, and I will get back to you. And with that, just like to say good night.